Dealing with problems of subjectivism, skepticism, and relativism is new to scientific knowledge, but has been a problem for normative word games such as morality, ethics, and law for millennia. Hume's law and the open question argument, discussed in prior ethics and morality episodes, simply state the problem. There is simply no logical way to go from what is to what ought to be normatively. That is, evaluatively or prospectively, from what is to what ethically or morally ought to be. There is no logical way to proceed from what is to a necessary what ought to be defined as morality. Thus, all of ethics and morality by logical necessity are subjective and made up of relativistic concepts. All the theories that moralists create to avoid this Hume's guillotine separating what is from what ought to be have failed and will fail because they rely on a necessary rational connection that does not and cannot exist. The correlation provided by data science, however, has the potential to resolve Hume's guillotine or Hume's law. There is no rational crevice separating a correlation between what is and what ought to be. Saying something is moral because it correlates with results we want should remove the quotation mark moral crumple zone, close quotation mark, that eventually leads to the imprisonment of innocence because the law will have no moral explanation to justify such imprisonment. Modern science and intelligentsia do not want to lose explanation to correlation because of the loss of power this would entail. Thus, the real dispute as to whether data science is a science or not is aesthetic and normative. Whether they are feminists, racist, sexist, anti-racist, or whatever, everyone wants the power of scientific explanation to be the new religion to replace the old school Western religions of faith. Correlation without theory, at best, only gives probability. It will make them equal to old school religion with its Pascal's gamble as its only proof, and give credence to philosopher of science Paul Feyerabend's argument for a separation between state and science equal to the separation between state and religion, or the converse, an equal sharing of power between science, religion, and the state. So they fight among themselves for power and leave the rest of us alone. It was the separate but equal powers of church and state counterbalancing each other that gave us modern Western civilization and the good of modern technological society. Perhaps we need these three present powers that be to fight among themselves as counterbalances to each other to continue historical progress into the next phase, whatever that may be historically. For anyone interested in a more detailed contemplation of data, science, and normative language, I have attached a link to a couple of essays dealing with this topic on the Philosophy of Science webpage portion of our podcast page and also on the Ethics and Morality portion of our podcast page. Entitled Knowledge and Truth in Data Science, Theory Without Theory, and then the additional essays, Why Tolerate Law, and an Existential Philosophy of Law.